And thanks for having a chat with me today. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
And would it be safe to say that understanding fruit is a fairly big part of your life and day?
It certainly is a very big part of my professional life,
Right.
And therefore my life, yes.
Right. So you talk proteins, you talk enzymes for a big chunk of your working day. Can you talk to me a little bit about how your research impacts specifically into the fruit industry?
Okay. I am particularly interested in why do ripe fruit rot, and so I've spent the last 25 years trying to work on that particular question. What is it about fruit when they become ripe that makes them susceptible to rotting and damage by pathogens? The second avenue of research that I'm interested in is why are fruit green in the first place? Why do they go to all the effort to make chloroplasts? What's the benefit for the fruit? And since we know most of the chloroplasts in plants are in the leaves, why do fruit also do that?
Your research, I mean, let's kind of cut to the chase here. Your research is pretty famous. You're well respected within the sector. What is it about that research that you think drives that excitement or that interest?
I think it's a combination of things. I have great colleagues and great collaborators, and that's been everything that I've done practically has been in collaboration with other people, and I enjoy working with them, and so that it spreads my reputation and it advances the field quickly. I think in terms of the specific projects that we've worked on things that involve everything from the molecular biology to actual field studies. So when I have a student that comes working for me, I say, this is actually a really interesting job. You'll be out in a tomato field at dawn in the morning. We'll work out there for a bunch of hours, then come in the lab and you're going to do high stakes molecular biology. So it spans a lot of disciplines, and I think that's part of what attracts people.
And there's a lot of smart folks here down at Davis, along with yourself, and even more than normal, this is a larger turnout than has ever happened at the 13th annual SolGenomics Conference. We're in this time of technology. Why is it so important for like-minded colleagues to come together at an event like this?
Well, we each have sort of our own specialties, and I think the advantage of having a conference like this that has focused on everything from advances to applications is that we get to see what other people do, but we get to see how it's actually used in the industry. So the tours this morning were a really excellent example. These molecular biologists had no idea how a tomato harvester worked. And to see it in person, the light bulbs were just going off all over the place. It was great to see.
Nice, perfect. It's always great to hear, because everybody thinks they have the hardest piece.
Right.
Right.
And we're a community.
Absolutely. What's one thing, and I'm going to limit you to one thing that gets you excited about your research and why?
I love figuring out something new. And, it just what's not known and figuring it out is just truly exciting. So when I had a particular gene that I figured out the function of, and I remember distinctly the day, and I said, wow, this is cool. It doesn't happen very often, and when it does, you go, it was worth it.
Nice. Fruit obviously plays a big part in humanity, society at large. Do you have any numbers on what type of percentage does the Solanaceae group make up of the fruit that is consumed in North America, and does the investigation, the research, fairly represent it in the research world?
That's an interesting question, because tomatoes are produced and consumed throughout the world, actually. And it's one of the few crops in the temperate part of the world, and it's consumed worldwide. Every culture, the cuisine of every culture uses tomatoes, surprisingly. And they're used in diverse ways, and I think that is one of the reasons why it's been so important, is that people use it in different ways. People have different preferences.
And why is UC Davis the hub for so much of this research, and what makes it such a great research school?
What makes it such a great research school is that it has a long history of being a farm school. It was a farm school from Berkeley. So we've had a long tradition, and the talk yesterday by Roger Chatelet about Charlie Rick was an excellent example. Here was a guy from Harvard who came out here and worked on crops. I mean, that's a long ways from Harvard Square to crops in Central Valley. I think why Davis has continued in that way is that the industry is here. The tomato processing industry is here, and it's a huge industry. And economically, but also in terms of the disciplines that go into it. So it's everything from plant pathology, breeding, engineering, marketing, business. It is an enormous industry. And so people can get jobs in the vicinity. There are farm families that send their kids to the school. And so there's a very close relationship between the industry and the university in a really good synergistic sense.
Nice, nice. What can the seed industry as a whole learn from the fruit seed sector?
That's an interesting question too, because I think one of the things that's come out of this meeting is an incredibly diverse there's many varieties of tomatoes out there, and they have different characteristics, and that's translated, interestingly, into the public. So people are now interested in funny colored tomatoes. You can go to Trader Joe's and you can buy heirloom tomatoes, and that is a big change, and it shows you that there's interest in the public for products that are not your traditional standard run-of-the-mill red tomatoes, and that applies to other fruit and vegetables. People are interested in variety, they're interested in unique characteristics. They're not, maybe this is something that's in a certain socioeconomic class that they're more interested, but there at least is a market out there for something unusual and enjoyable.
Nice. Can you talk about why collaboration is so critical for current and future research? And then also maybe, is collaboration on the rise, on the decrease, or flat, in your opinion?
I like to think it's on the rise. I think a meeting like this where people communicate openly and enthusiastically and are willing to show data before it's published. This is pretty remarkable. So I think people are looking to work together. We're overwhelmed with data and in many cases overwhelmed with technology. You can't be an expert in all of this, and people realize that very quickly. And they look at other specialties or other expertise and say, wow, that's great to do, but I can't do it, so maybe if I work with that person, then we'll both benefit, and I think we do.
And wonderfully well said. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate you having a chat with me today.
Great. Thank you very much.